is enough. Americans do
fair
not
use,
want
guys,
to be
fair
used
use.
as leverage. And they don't want to be used as leverage for another $1 trillion of wasteful spending. They work way too hard for their paychecks. They want relief, they want leadership, and they want results. Democrats, please, I implore you, do what's right. Democrats, do what's right. End the shutdown. End the suffering for the American people. Stop, as you say, leveraging the pain. Vote for the Clean CR funding bill and let America move forward. Thank you.
All right, questions? Manu, go ahead.
How do you justify the administration getting this big, massive bailout of Argentina, as well as calling for an increase in beef imports from Argentina?
Look, we give foreign policy, the execution of foreign policy, to the executive branch. That's what the president is doing right now. There's lots of nuances about that. He's involved in negotiating trade agreements around the country to the great success and benefit of the American people right now. Dozens of them being worked out. He's overseas right now doing the same thing. And what he accomplished in Japan is a remarkable thing for the American people. And by the way, they've agreed to invest $550 billion into America, and that's good for everyone. So I can't get into the nuances of every single trade agreement with every country around the world, but we're going to trust the president to do what he's doing. He's had a remarkable track record of success for the American people, and nobody in this room can refute it. So I'm going to leave it right there. Chad, let's talk about the government shutdown. It's the main important thing right here. Chad, go ahead.
Can you talk about some of the members in, excuse me, can you talk about some of the members in your Congress?
All right, guys. The reason why I paused and stopped it right there is I wanted you to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. And the video I had made, and I talked about the other day ago, about how the United States gave a bailout to Venezuela, total of $40 billion. And obviously you guys know about the bailout that, well, not the bailout, but the funding that, Ukraine received. And what I was going to basically title this short of this video was, the government's hobnobbing and they're beefing, with each other. It's not putting any money in Americans' pockets. It's not putting food on the table, and these politicians and these officials and even some of the elite that are involved in this, because they go hand in hand on the corporate side, these men and women, they live in a bubble. They live in a totally different world. You see how clean these people look, the clothes that they wear. Do any of them look like they're struggling or hurting for money or know where their next meal is coming from? The answer is no. Do you think that their children and their families, are putting any crunch? And what I want to say, obviously, we know that we should not be dependent, upon a system or a government, that we have to create, things for, ourselves. But nevertheless, we do operate within this system that men and women such as themselves, that this government and the elites, that they set the framework for. And so you have to have something to work with in order to produce something, But these guys are going back and forth playing the blame game, pointing the fingers at each other while pointing the fingers at each other while your middle class and those that are poverty, are taking the brunt of it. Whereas what I find is that when you live in a bubble where your finances and everything is good for you, you live in nice neighborhoods, your children are going to the best colleges, the best schools or institutions, whether it be private or if your public schools are in the best zip codes or zones. You have a lot of time to sit back and think, about or philosophize about a lot of things because you're not affected by it. For those that have to get out there and got to figure out, they got to get on the grind with the quickness and got to figure out how they're going to get it or get it how they live. They don't have time for all the hobnobbing and, if you want to say, the dialogue. They don't have time for it because they're too busy out there trying to survive. And granted, there are some people, government employees and civilian employees that, they're prepared and, they do have their emergency funds, and some obviously can take money out of, their 401ks and, repay it back, over time. So some do have options, and some, if they have multiple streams of income, some are straight, but that's not everybody. But if you notice, the questions that I asked about ESF fund that they had, the minute one of the news media brought that question up to this representative, you notice how he gave a real quick answer. He didn't even spend a minute on it. He glossed over it and he hurried up and got out of there quick before he could get basically exposed, But what my point is that they've always got a trick up their sleeve, and they've always, have extra money laying around somewhere. They've got it. Trust me. It's just for what they choose to do with it. All these whatever conflicts or wars that we had, and all of the money that has been stimulus that was supposed to go to the American people, and all of a sudden all of these banks, J.P. Morgan, the money got sucked up, into like a black hole, and all of a sudden nobody knows where all those trillions of dollars went. Trust me, they have the money. They have it, but they trying to run the okie doke play, on, I guess you can say, us regular folks, So I don't know who's listening to this or who's watching it, but I would definitely say make sure that you keep side hustles and create yourself other streams of income. Don't be dependent on just any one thing, because investments fold. Sometimes investments, go belly up, and money can be made, money can be lost. The same thing with crypto. Obviously we know it's going to be around. We know that, but it's very volatile. So you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You can't rely on supposedly a steady job anymore. Especially with technology and artificial intelligence moving in rapidly. So I guess in this case, you're going to have to get your own back. So I would say make sure you have multiple streams of income. Eventually, for those if you don't, are not in a house or anything like that, maybe you're going to have to maybe figure out how to grow your own stuff, get land, and keep your passport ready. Because in the event that it gets really crazy or funky here, you may need to jet, and leave the country. Now, I know that's not easy for everybody. Everybody can't do that. So, you just have to make adjustments in place for those that are not able to pick up and leave that fast. And that's whether you're single, or if you have a family. But anyway, fair use. Let's watch a little bit more of this, and then I'll just shut it down. But this right here is coming off of Fox News. And obviously, it's off of Live Now from Fox. So shout out, give them their credit. And it's titled House Republicans Slam Democrats During Shutdown. But like I said, their jargon and them slamming each other is not solving the issues of the American people. But anyway, fair use, fair use. Let's roll along with it, guys.
You have expressed concern about the House being up, or saying that this has gone on too long, we need to maybe have another CR or take another approach, or do something on healthcare.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what that is like, and some of the things that you're hearing from your members who are saying, this is really going on?
Well, you all know what I'm hearing from my members because our calls are leaked every week, and we had a conference call with almost everyone yesterday. By our count, there's about 3 to 4 members of the House Republican Conference who have only mildly questioned working in the districts as opposed to being here on the floor. And we talked through that in as much detail as we can on a call that I know is being printed on the front page of all the papers the next morning. But I can tell you that 99% of all the Republicans in the Senate and the House heartily agree with what we are doing. They understand the most important thing and the most important function and the basic and most simple thing that government must do is keep its operation going for the people. That is the first job of Congress. And when we can't do that, everything is paralyzed. And so we have made that the number one emphasis. We need the Senate Democrats to do what they have always done in the past. Don't make me tell you all the facts again. 13 times during the Biden administration alone, they voted on CRs to keep the government going. They know the pain they're inflicting. They do not care because they're more afraid of the radical left Marxists in the base than they are the American people. That's plain and simple. And so it's painful for them, for us to get up here every single day and relate again the simple truths. We have to do that. The repetition is what makes the truth saturate, because most of the mainstream media is giving us headwinds. They're pushing back, as I just demonstrated from you from the results. The research proves what we know intuitively, that the mainstream media, most of the legacy media, is parroting the talking points to the other side. You are not asking Chuck Schumer the hard questions. You're not asking Hakeem Jeffries the hard questions. Not enough of them. They're hiding. And they think that they can appease the radical base because they're more afraid of the voices of the far left corner of their party than they are everybody else. And I think there's going to be a big price to pay for that in the future. Yes, sir. Right here.
Religion News Service has tracked 5 different instances in the last few weeks. DHS and ICE agents apparently, for this religious support, shooting Christian clergy with pepper bullets, pepper rounds, and rubber bullets. There was viral video of a Unitarian minister being hit in the head with pepper rounds, and just last week, a UCC minister was shot directly in the face with a pepper round by a DHS agent that left his face bloody. I know that you've advocated for religious freedom in the past and celebrated the president's decision to pardon anti-abortion demonstrators. Do you share the concern of these clergy? This is a religious freedom issue that's emerging between the administration and
I can't comment on any of those instances. I haven't seen or heard any of those videos, so I'm not going to comment. But I would say, hold on, wait a minute. Let me answer you. Hold on. Thank you. You asked the question. Religious freedom does not extend and give you the right to get in the face of an ICE officer and assault them, if indeed that was what happened there. What I've seen is a measured approach by the people who are trying to enforce our border laws, our immigration laws. And that was desperately needed and desired and demanded by the American people. You might remember the number one issue in the November election last year was the wide open border and the chaos that has ensued by that. So the people are out doing a very difficult job. ICE officers, by the way, are under tremendous strain and pressure. How would you like to do that job if you had to put on the badge and do it? When you know you have the media criticizing every move, and you have wild protesters in your face, cursing at you, waving their finger in your face, and sometimes pushing you and assaulting you. Okay, it's a dangerous, risky job. Thank the Lord that there are people who are willing to do that difficult job, to put on the badge and show that kind of courage. We should be on the side of law enforcement, and anybody who's trying to disrupt those operations, they need to be handled the right way. Now, look, all of us want the law to be enforced. We are the rule of law party. Chaos is not an American virtue. The rule of law, but you have to have order, and you have to have peace, and you have to have some people who are brave enough to put on the uniform and go ensure that. So get out of their face and let them do their job. That's what I would say. Down here, yes, ma'am.
Speaker, we're getting closer to the November 21st deadline for the CR that you guys passed. We're almost 3 weeks away from that. Is it time to bring the House back to pass a new CR with a new date? Is fewer than 3 weeks enough time to finish appropriation?
Wouldn't that be a futile exercise when we have a CR that's been sitting over there since September 19th? If I brought the House back and we passed another CR, it would meet the exact same fate with Chuck Schumer. He would mock it, they would spike it, and they would try to blame it on us. So what would be the point of that? We're all concerned about the timing. The Democrats are eating up the clock. We have very important work to do here, and that's why we're pleading with them, not Chuck Schumer. Look, I think Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are irredeemable at this point. I don't think they'll be able to tell Mondami in New York and his disciples that they voted to open the government. I've given up on the leadership. So we're trying to appeal to a handful of moderates or centrists who care more about the American people and will put the people's interests over their own and do the right thing in the Senate. I mean, there's no point in me sitting down with Chuck Schumer. He's painted himself into a corner. I get all that. Mondami it looks like he's going to win and be the mayor of New York City. And Hakeem Jeffries came out and endorsed him. That's all you need to know. Hakeem Jeffries is terrified that Mondami, one of his disciples, is going to challenge him in his own seat in the election next fall. You've already seen that rumored. Some of you have reported on it. So he had to do it. He had to endorse socialism. He had to endorse Marxism. This dangerous ideology that has taken over the Democrat Party, that is what is motivating them. So it doesn't matter what we do in the House. It doesn't matter what we pass. We have to get a handful of moderates over there who care about America to do the right thing. We need at least 7 Democrats. It takes 60 votes in the Senate to pass it. This is not the Republicans. This fault is squarely on the shoulders of the Democrats, and they are the ones causing you the pain, and don't ever let them forget it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's it. That's it, guys, and I'm gonna leave it at that. You know, I will leave it, at that, guys. Peace out, and I will catch you in the next one.